for logging. And then a few years later, they granted hundreds of thousands of dollars to volunteer-led trail organizations to create an internationally renowned trail network in the same area, which of course they did. Trees are essential to this landscape and contribute to the trail's international appeal, and the UCP literally promised those same trees to both projects. This has created a mess of user conflict, upset communities, upset recreationists, and the UCP has just walked away from the mess that they created. I have received hundreds of emails from constituents who are both concerned and thoroughly confused as to why they are paying $90 for a conservation pass to protect and upgrade trails when those same areas had already been slated for logging. The UCP's left hand clearly doesn't know what the right hand is doing. And this is a clear example of the UCP's incompetence and lack of forethought in being able to balance resource development and land use planning. The UCP chose to make life more expensive for Albertans with the K-Pass and have not delivered any of the promised benefits. Prior to getting elected, Danielle Smith condemned the Kananaskis Pass and expressed her plans to revoke it. In fact, let's hear from Danielle Smith on that.
I don't agree with most of what the NDP proposes, but this caught my attention. Rachel says she'll scrap the K-Country, Pay Country Pass for Albertans and put it back to what Peter Lougheed envisioned, free to all and supported by existing taxes. Bravo. I totally agree. What will you do? Announce scrapping the fee and you'll deflate her profit. Oh, okay, there you are. Definitely. Kananaskis was always supposed to be that open access place for Albertans. They actually used to have preferential access even to the golf course for Albertans. The idea that somehow we're going to improve things and improve the access by charging, what is it, a $90 park pass? That impacts families at a time when everything is going up for families. So I agree with you. And there you go. Agree with Rachel Notley. See, there are areas we can work together with the opposition.
That was Danielle Smith in 2022. Now, after being elected, it's clear the Premier and her cabinet have no plans to cancel the Kananaskis Pass. This broken promise isn't just about affordability, it's also about transparency and this government's reckless mismanagement of the land Albertans love so much. So myself and my colleagues in the Alberta NDP are calling on Danielle Smith and the UCP to finally revoke the Kananaskis Conservation Pass and properly plan and fund the conservation and land use development of this important area. This is a much needed step towards making the outdoors the accessible and affordable experience Albertans deserve. Finally, if you are one of the lucky Albertans who will get to enjoy the outdoors this weekend, please remember to be fire safe. There are several areas of the province with fire advisories or fire bans. Please check albertafirebans.ca for information about where you're intending to spend your weekend. Remember to keep a clean campsite to better coexist with wildlife, be bear aware, have bear spray with you, and practice all the measures that keep us safe and make us good stewards of our land. And of course, have fun. Thank you, and I will now take any questions.
Thank you, Sarah. We will now go to questions. So just a reminder for those joining us on the phone lines to use *9, and for those joining us on Zoom to use the raise hand function to get into the question queue. We will first start with questions in the room. Please state your name and outlet.
Jessica Lee with the Rocky Mountain Outlook. Sarah, can you speak to some of the key changes or improvements you or the NDP would propose to counter the UCP's method of funding, or current approach, I should say, of funding environmental initiatives in Kananaskis and land use planning?
Yeah, so, I mean, there's a couple of things. So first of all, our stance is that parks should be a publicly funded resource. They are a public asset. They belong to all Albertans, and they should be funded through tax dollars. I think when we consider where our tax dollars go and where that public funding comes from, it's really about priorities, right? So, you know, the UCP wants to fund $30 million a year for an environmental war room. I kind of think that $30 million a year would be great improvements in Kananaskis with that. So it's not about it's just about reprioritizing where our public dollars are spent and spending them on things that Albertans care about. And Albertans have demonstrated a clear care and priority for our parks. When it comes to land use planning, I think what I'm really looking for and paying a lot of attention to right now is the implementation of the South Saskatchewan Regional Plan. That plan is up for renewal starting this year, so I'm interested in when the minister will announce that renewal or review process of that plan, and then making sure that we implement it and adhere to it, right? There is clear guidance in the South Saskatchewan Regional Plan, but we don't often refer to it and implement it where it says, like, the Eastern Slopes is really about headwaters, for example. So how are we reflecting that in land use decisions? I'm kind of paying attention to that as well.
And a follow-up to that, you mentioned transparency, and I know that's been a criticism with the Kananaskis Pass is just where all the funds are going. How would you plan to ensure transparency and accountability in the allocation and use of funds for environmental and tourism projects?
Well, again, I think it's about having better accountability in the budget process. So where are those funds coming from and what specific projects are they going towards? With the Kananaskis Pass, one of the biggest issues is that all of that money raised goes towards general revenue. And that makes it very difficult to track exactly how those Kananaskis Pass dollars are being allocated back into Kananaskis. That's always been one of my issues with the Kananaskis Pass. If we get rid of the Kananaskis Pass and parks are publicly funded as they should be, we inherently have a little bit more accountability and transparency with those funds.
Do a quick pass for questions on the phone or on the Zoom. Perfect. One more pass for questions in the room. All right, and with that, that concludes our press conference. Thanks, folks.